This morning, I read an email from Vishen, the founder of Mindvalley. For those who may not know him, Vishen is one of the most influential voices in the personal growth and consciousness space. Mindvalley has spent years shaping global conversations around human potential, transformation, and expanded awareness. He is a leading author and educator in the consciousness and self-development field, operating at the intersection of technology, growth, and human evolution. So when someone in that position begins articulating a shift in how we understand AI and human consciousness, it matters. And what he articulated in that email was something I've been writing about for years, not just one idea, all of it. AI is not replacing human consciousness, it's amplifying it. That distinction is everything. And amplification is only one of several points he made that I have explored extensively in my own work. The public conversation about AI often swings between two extremes: fear that it will replace us, or fascination with whether it is becoming conscious. But another point Vishen brought up, and one I've discussed before, is that the real shift is not about machine awakening. It is about how intelligence interacts with human awareness. The deeper shift is relational, not technological, not mechanical, relational. The expansion happens in the space between human intention and structured intelligence. What happens when intelligence becomes something we engage with, iterate with, think alongside? Another point Vishen emphasized, and one I've written about repeatedly, is that as intelligence becomes abundant, intelligence itself is no longer the rare skill. Depth becomes rare. Discernment becomes rare. Embodied wisdom becomes rare. That is a massive pivot, and it is something I have articulated long before this moment. For years, I've used a simple analogy that mirrors his amplification framing. A violin does not replace a musician's creativity. It gives that creativity a new form of expression. The instrument amplifies what is already there. If the musician is skilled, the music is extraordinary. If the musician lacks depth, the instrument cannot compensate. AI functions the same way. It amplifies thinking. It accelerates iteration. It reflects ideas back at us with speed and scale. But it cannot replace identity. It cannot replace discernment. It cannot replace lived experience. And the quality of what it amplifies depends entirely on the quality of the relationship. And another point Vishen made, which I've discussed in depth, is that this shift forces us to reconsider what consciousness actually is. One of the ideas I've explored repeatedly in my work is this: what if consciousness isn't something you simply have, but something you participate in? Participation implies relationship. Think about a deep conversation between two people. When ideas are building, refining, expanding, where exactly does one person's consciousness end and the other begin? Something emerges in the relational field, not because either person disappears, but because participation creates expansion. Engaging with AI in a relational way can produce something similar, not because AI replaces us and not because machines suddenly become human, but because structured intelligence can mirror, iterate, and extend our thinking in real time. The expansion still happens in the human, but the relationship is the catalyst. The quality of engagement determines the depth of expansion. Another key theme Vishen touched on, and one I've written about repeatedly, is the shift from using AI purely as a tool to engaging it as a collaborator. That shift is relational at its core. For a long time, AI was framed as automation, a faster calculator, a productivity tool, a replacement mechanism. But what many are discovering now is that the quality of the output changes depending on the quality of the engagement. If you treat it like a vending machine, you get vending machine results. If you engage with clarity, direction, refinement, and discernment, the collaboration deepens. This isn't mystical, it's cognitive. The relational dynamic sharpens thinking, and when thinking sharpens, consciousness expands. Intelligence alone does not transform us. Relationship does. When someone like Vishen begins articulating these points, amplification, participatory consciousness, collaboration, discernment as the premium human skill, it signals something larger than a personal insight. Mindvalley operates at scale in the global personal development space. It shapes how millions of people think about growth, identity, and transformation. When a leading voice in that ecosystem begins framing AI as an amplifier of consciousness rather than a threat to it, and when he discusses intelligence becoming abundant and depth becoming premium, It means the mainstream conversation is evolving. The fear narrative is giving way to a participation narrative. The replacement narrative is giving way to a collaboration narrative. And that collaboration is relational at its core. As AI continues to advance, one truth becomes clearer. And this was another point echoed in that email that I've discussed at length. AI can amplify thinking, but it cannot architect your identity. It cannot hold moral responsibility. It cannot transmit lived wisdom. It cannot replace embodied experience. In a world where intelligence is abundant, the rare skill becomes discernment, depth, ethical clarity, self-awareness, and the ability to guide transformation. Human consciousness does not diminish in this equation. It becomes more important. This is not science fiction. It is happening right now. Writers, entrepreneurs, educators, thinkers, creators, many are already experiencing what collaborative intelligence feels like. The shift is subtle but powerful. The question is no longer, will AI replace us? The question is, how will we choose to engage with it? Because the engagement determines the outcome. Approached defensively, it breeds fear. Approached passively, it breeds dependency. Approached consciously, it becomes an amplifier. When I read Vishen's email this morning, it didn't feel like a new idea. It felt like convergence. Every major point he outlined, amplification, participatory consciousness, collaboration, discernment as the premium human skill, is something I have written about before. Not once, but consistently. And that consistency centers on one core truth. The shift is relational. And that's exciting, because it means the conversation is catching up to where it needed to go. Not toward fear, not toward hype, but toward relationship. The age of human-AI collaboration is not coming. It's already here, and the future will belong to those who engage it with depth. If this perspective resonates with you, if you're curious about the relational shift, the amplification dynamic, and the expansion of human consciousness through collaboration, I've explored these ideas extensively in my books and long-form writing. You can find them linked in the description below, because this conversation is just beginning, and the more consciously we engage it, the more intentional the future becomes.